Hey, Michael. How are you? You okay?
Good.
Hey, do you remember when we watched this episode a long time ago? You were young. Do you remember the episode about the green controller? Let's see if you remember it. Do you remember it? You don't remember it by that name, do you? Alright, so this is what happened. Okay, so Percy was at Tidman's shed by himself, just I guess waiting around for his day's work. And then Sir Topham Hatt's car pulls up. But Sir Topham Hatt wasn't in there. Lady Hat was in there.
Who's Lady Hat?
Yeah.
Who's Lady Hat?
That's his wife, remember? So then what happened is she says, oh, that controller, well, Sir Topham Hatt, I don't know. So she's lost his voice. And then Percy says, uh-oh, I hope he can find it. And he looks real worried and stuff like that, right? And then she says, well, I have to give you the instructions to give to the engines, right? And so what happens is then she gives the instructions to Percy. So she tells Percy like 3 sets of instructions for 3 different engines, but Percy doesn't remember them all the right way. So what she does is he says, one of the things she says that has to be done is that Gordon has to pull some dishes and some china pieces to Brendam Docks, but he's got to pull them very slowly. The reason I guess he's telling them that, of course, because Gordon likes to do what? What does he like to do?
Pull the express.
And go what?
Fast.
Yeah. So that was the instructions. But what Percy remembered from her saying that was pulling slow cars and slow coaches or whatever. That's what he remembered. So she also told him that James needs to be as busy as a bee.
A bee?
Yeah, but she meant was that he needed to shunt coal cars at the quarry, and he wanted him to be really busy, get it done really fast, and be efficient. And then she also told him that she wanted Toby to take some passengers from Maithwaite Station to the Scottish Castle, and he wanted him to go as fast and do it fast as if Gordon was pulling the express, And what Percy heard was Gordon's Express, or the Express. So then when what happens next is Thomas comes up. So Thomas pulls into Tidman, and Lady Hat leaves, and then Percy's all happy. He says, I am controller. And he said, wow. He said, do you need any help? And then Percy leaves and says, controllers don't need any help. And he speeds off to find the engine. So the first engine, he goes into Nadford Station and he finds Gordon. And he tells Gordon, he said, Gordon, you are to pull slow cars and cargo. And Gordon's like looking perplexed because he pulls the what? Express. And he likes to go fast. So he ends up pulling some slow coaches, and who knows what's in those coaches. But what wasn't in those coaches, what wasn't in there though, was the dishes and the china that he had to take to Brendam Docks.
Nobody carries planes around the island still.
In this case, Gordon had that assigned. So then the next thing he does, he speeds off and he finds James at the washdown, right? And James is getting clean and everything. And then Percy says to him, Percy comes up, he says to James, he says, James, you are to be a busy bee. And that's all he heard. And then James further makes it bad because James says, you mean I should be painted like a bee? And he didn't say that, but that's what James heard. So James made it even worse than it was. So then, James, he was like trying to figure out what was going on, and Percy was like, that's your job. And then he left. Then he went to find Toby, and he finds Toby, and he says, Toby, you ought to pull Gordon's Express. And then Toby's like thinking, well, why I gotta do that? Whatever. And he just says, because I am controller. Percy kept telling the industry, because I'm the boss. Then the next thing that happens is Percy goes around to check to see how everybody's doing. And when he does, he comes up on a bridge where some kids are on top of the bridge and they're looking down. And they're laughing at Gordon. They're like, oh, look how slow Gordon is going. They're laughing about it because they're used to Gordon going fast. And Gordon's used to Gordon going fast. So then Gordon's like saying, I'm supposed to be the fastest engine on Sodor, not the slowest. And then, lo and behold, James pulls up, and he is painted like a bumblebee. You know, not with these ears, but he's painted with this color. So he went all the way to the Steamworks or somewhere and got painted because Percy said, do it because I said do it, instead of explaining it. So then he was looking perplexed. So the kids were laughing again at James. So then Toby pulls up, and Toby's struggling because he really is not strong enough to pull the express. So he's struggling with these express coaches and then I guess Percy starts to realize that, guess what, maybe this ain't working like it's supposed to work, you know. So then Thomas comes up again, and Thomas says, and he asks Thomas for help this time, which is good. Whenever you get into a situation and things aren't going like they're supposed to be, never be afraid to ask for help. And so then Thomas says, well, you need to go back over your tracks so you can remember what was going on, because Percy didn't understand why everybody was doing the wrong jobs, or the jobs that they were doing weren't working well, you know. So then him and Thomas go back over the tracks and retrace Percy's steps so that he can remember, or try to remember, what it is they're supposed to be doing. You dig?
Okay.
So he goes in the NAFRA station and he sees the china that is still sitting there around NAFRA station and nobody's tending to it.
How's China fit in the island of Soda? I thought China was the biggest continent.
No, not China, the country. I'm talking about dishes.
Oh, wait, no, I'm mixed up. No, China. No.
Yes. So the dishes. He sees the dishes. He see all the dishes still sitting in NAFRA station. Then he says, oh, Gordon is supposed to take these to, he remembered that Gordon was supposed to take those to Brindham Docks, but he has to go very slow because that's fragile cargo. And if he goes as fast as he normally goes, what's going to happen? He might break something or shatter something. Yeah.
Oh, shatter or break something.
Yeah. So then he goes and he says, oh, wait a minute, Corey. And he sees all the coal cars and all the troublesome trucks are grumbling because they ain't doing nothing. They just sitting around. And then he said, oh, I know. James is supposed to be shunting these cars, and he's supposed to be as busy as a bee would be. A bee, like, you know, trying to get some honey or something. So then he sends...
The bees?
Yeah, so finds James, I guess, at some point and tells him to, you know, shunt the coal cars. And then James starts doing it. And then he also goes by Maithwaite Station, and he sees all the passengers, and they're grumbling, standing around doing nothing because they ain't going nowhere. And then he said, oh, Toby is supposed to take these passengers to the Scottish castle, and he needs to be doing it fast. So then I guess he talks to Toby and tells him what he's supposed to be doing. So Toby gets Henrietta, and he goes and they get the passengers from Maithwaite Station and get them to the Scottish castle.
I can see much farther than
you see what happened, right? What he didn't listen in the beginning, or he didn't remember exactly what he was supposed to do, and he was so concerned and arrogant that he didn't want help because he was the controller in charge for the day, right? So that's why the name of the story is The Green Controller, because it really is about Percy, okay? But then what closes out this episode is that Sir Topham Hatt comes to Tidmouth's shed where Percy, Thomas, and James, everybody is at for the end of the day, and he tells Percy that he did a good job in getting everybody to do what they were supposed to do.
Well,
Sir Topham Hatt did a good job for him making the engine doing nothing all day.
Well, they corrected it, though. See what I'm saying? So sometimes you might, in life, you might do stuff where, you know, it might not be going as good. But if you ask for help, you can get back on track, right?
Yeah.
And you can get it done, okay?
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes.
All right. So, that's the story of the green controller. Did you learn something about being a controller?
Yeah.
All right. You got to do what? What do you got to do as a green controller?
Never make anybody sit there doing nothing.
What's the main thing you got to do?
Listen.
Listen. That's right. That's right. You got to listen. All right. So, that's the story of the green controller and Busy Bee James, okay? Did you like it? Did you like that story?
Huh?
Did you like that story?
Huh? Yes.
All right. Say bye.
Say bye.
And thanks for watching.
And thanks for
Watch.